All right, it's always interesting at a Baylor gathering, especially one with a sports theme, to recognize our lettermen. If you are a letter winner in any sport, maybe not stand up, but raise your hand and let us see you. A letter winner in any sport. All right, look around the room. Great, great. Thank you. Thank you, and thank you for being here today. Also, we're glad to have with us the head of the B Association, the Lettermen's Association at Baylor. Baylor's all-time leading rusher for another couple of months, number 34 in your program, number 1 in your heart. Walter Abercrombie is here. Walter, welcome. All right, Walter, appreciate you very much. You know, Walter was on that 1980 Southwest Conference Championship team. Most of you watched those games and enjoyed that conference championship season. Walter was first-team all-conference. Dennis Gentry in that backfield was first-team all-conference. The quarterback, Jay Jeffrey, was first-team all-conference. Has that ever happened before or since when the entire offensive backfield was first-team all-conference? That's how powerful that offense was in 1980. So you guys, that was some kind of team in 1980, the Southwest Conference champions. I say that by way of introduction of one of our legends who is with us today, the quarterback of the 1980 Southwest Conference championship, Baylor Bears. Come on up, Jay Jeffrey. All right, nice. Welcome. Either one, you get to choose. Prior to 1980, who was around for the Miracle on the Brazos in 1974? Southwest Conference champions. First time in 50 years the Bears had won the conference championship. The quarterback of that team is with us today, none other than Neal Jeffrey. Come on, Neal. Come on up, guys. Mics turn on the bottom, so make sure they're on. I know you know how to handle that. Settle in, and we appreciate you being with us today. Most of you know Neal has completed 31 years as associate pastor at Prestonwood Baptist Church up in the Dallas area. 31 years. Had a great celebration for his 30th anniversary about a year ago with Judge Starr and the band and yell leaders and all that, so it was a real Baylor and Prestonwood celebration. Jay is right here in Waco, 28 years as executive vice president of Time Manufacturing here in Waco as well. So Jay, we're glad you are around this area. Jay's wife Chris is here. Chris, wave a hand. And welcome to you. And Neal's wife Sheila is here. Sheila, welcome to you. Thanks. All right. All right, guys. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it.
It's good to be here. It is.
As if you weren't...
Good to be with Jay. It is. Good to be with you, John.
Thank you, Neal. As if you guys weren't legendary, status as well. This kind of verifies that. I mean, you're true Baylor legends. You guys really are.
Well, I said to a lot of people in here, okay, start showing me some respect now.
I was on the way driving down here, and I called my son James, and he's 28. He's also a Baylor grad. I said, yeah. I reminded him, hey, Mom and I are on the way to Waco. We're going to be at this Baylor Legends thing. And he said, oh, great. Who are the legends? So just kind of as a reminder that I'm not as big as you think you are.
That's great. A lot of folks remember you guys when you were here and playing. How many of you know that your dad was here and an all-conference running back, James Jeffrey, was here as well? You kind of grew up in a Baylor family, didn't you?
He was here from 47 to 51 and played. His team finished second all 3 years he was here. But we were raised loving Baylor because of my dad. And my mom actually was the secretary to Dr. White, the president back then at that time. So she met my dad, and they met, but we were raised loving Baylor, and we were...
That's just like our dad to date the president's secretary.
Yeah, it is, yeah, totally, yeah, but he...
always an angle, always an angle.
Yeah, but we were just raised loving Baylor, always have, and we, as little kids, we wore my dad's jerseys. He had 2 Baylor jerseys. One was number 37 and one was number 40. And we wore those things out just constantly in the backyard. And as little kids, we would always play in the backyard. And we'd be Baylor. I'd be Don Truell. who was always my hero, and John, my other brother, would be Lawrence Elkins. He'd be James Ingram or somebody else, and we'd be behind against Texas. It didn't matter who it was. We'd act like we're behind.
I never got to be Lawrence Elkins.
You never did. That's true. But he was, because he was just a little bitty kid back then. We abused him, but we'd drive down, and always I'd hit Jay or John, and we'd win the game, and and of course, just always loved Baylor, and I always wanted to be at Baylor. Good. We did.
What are your earliest recollections, maybe of coming to games here? Anything that stands out?
Well, mine, I'm 6 years younger than Neal, and when Neal was playing football at Baylor, so my dad, I knew the jerseys and we'd see old photographs, but it was really when Neal was playing at Baylor. And then I didn't get to come to any games because I was playing junior high and high school football at the time, but in the '74 team, when the great win against Texas, my parents were out of town. They were at the game, and so I had some friends over to watch the football game. There's only one game, on Saturday, so we were all there at the game watching, and we weren't doing anything my mom didn't want us to do. I promise. But in that, they didn't have the coverage then, so we're watching the game of the week, and then it would pop up, and it said Baylor. Texas 24, Baylor 7. So we're just like can't believe it, and we're just can't stand it waiting on highlights. And the highlights were terrible. They just came on every once in a while. Finally, it came on and it showed Neal running a bootleg in the rain, getting the end zone. It took forever.
I don't care. I've suffered for that for years. Everybody.
But he did get to the cone and he hit it, and then it popped up that Baylor had won 34-24. And of course, there's probably 10 or 15 guys, the football players, and we just went crazy. It was just a real moment in time, and that's when Baylor really became really real to me at that moment.
Yeah. Of course, we were lived initially in Fort Worth, Texas, until 1963. So we would come to the games as kids. Dad brought us. I'd come to RA games as an RA kid at a Baptist church in the state of Texas, and sit in the end zone and just watch the guys. And then in 1963, of course, we were huge fans of Don Truell and Lawrence Elkins. And we'd come. I remember one game I ran out there after the game and got his chin strap, which was one of the greatest thrills of my life. But we've just always dreamed about one day being at Baylor and playing at Baylor.
That's pretty cool. So you would think preordained to come to Baylor when you got, when you were out of high school. Neal, you did. Jay, you sort of wandered off to Missouri. How did that happen? What was the recruitment process like, and how did Baylor factor in? You did transfer, obviously, from Missouri to Baylor.
Yeah, that wandering off applies to me in many, many ways. So that's a good. I grew up in Kansas City and was relatively heavily recruited, and so. My ties weren't so much to Texas and Baylor. Of course, I love Neal, but I was up there recruited heavily by Missouri and Nebraska and all the big 8 schools at the time. And so, I just came down. I narrowed it down to Baylor and Tennessee and Nebraska and Missouri. And the reason I didn't pick Nebraska is because they didn't offer me a scholarship. So I narrowed it down and went to Missouri. Yeah. And I love Missouri. I was there for 2 years, but I was the backup quarterback. And I felt like I'd beaten the other kids, and then was Phil Bradley, who was a Major League All-Star baseball player for several years for the Seattle Mariners. But anyway, I felt like I'd beaten him out, and so I called Coach Taft and just said, Coach, he said, Jay, I'm going to call you back as a friend. And I called Neal. Neal called Coach Taft, and Coach Taft said, Jay, I'm going to call you as a friend before I call you as a coach. And he said, I need you to understand, when you get here, you'll be our 6th or 7th string quarterback. And my response was, Coach, I get that and I understand that, but I need your word. If I beat everybody out and you give me a shot, that I'll be your man, and your word will be good. And Coach Taft's word is good, and so that's where that came from. And then I transferred to Baylor, and it changed my life. It was great.
Wow. That's a great story, because he would recruit quarterbacks like crazy.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean? When you were here, Vic Vines,
Van McElroy,
those
Scott
guys
Smith.
They ended up playing other places,
absolutely.
But they were quarterbacks coming
Absolutely.
in. Neal, what was it like for you, the recruiting process?
Well, Jay was a big-time high school quarterback. I was not, and so I was not. None of the big schools wanted me. I had.
Of course, your high school threw the ball about 8 times a game.
We did, at the most. We never threw the ball, and so nobody really wanted me. I think Washburn University up in Kansas wanted me to come play for them.
Ickabods.
You could have been an
Ichabod. Sure, I could. That's right. And but I've always wondered, looking back over my life, how I got a scholarship at Baylor. because I was not that good, and I've always believed my dad made it happen somehow. I don't know how he did it, but he made a deal with something, and
He dated the president's secretary.
Yeah, exactly. But Mickey Sullivan flew up to Kansas City, where we lived, and took me out to eat to a Western Sizzler. And I had a steak. We had a nice evening, and I signed a thing that night, and he flew back. I didn't have any ceremony. We didn't have a big press conference. It was just Mickey coming up, signed the deal, he flew, and I ended up at Baylor. And but of course, I was coming here no matter what. And when I got here, we had 7 quarterbacks that they signed as freshmen. And so I started off, because I wasn't eligible to play as a freshman because you had to play freshman ball back then. But they moved me to a defensive back. And so I'm like the third-team quarterback and first-team defensive safety, and I hated defense. I didn't want to hit anybody. I mean, I'd rather be hit than hit anybody and I played that whole freshman team, a freshman year, and at the end of the game, they would stick me in, and I'd play, and then I did pretty good at a little time I had to play. But it was in the spring that the Coach Taft came in January. And he said, everyone is going to get a shot. And so otherwise, I could have just been lost in the shuffle. But everyone got a look. I got my look that spring and ended up being the starting quarterback and got to play.
Man, that's a great story for both of you guys. Against some pretty long odds, you had to battle your way up that depth chart. You've both mentioned Coach Taft, and you both played for Coach Taft here. You eventually, played for Coach Taft. Today's his birthday, by the way. If you see Coach Taft or want to send him a note, today's either 81st or 82nd birthday today. So we all think so highly of him and what he has done for Baylor through the years. What was he like to play for? And then you guys have been close to him ever since.
Well, I was here as a freshman when he got here. And of course, he was the third choice. And we even hired a guy, a Rudy Feldman from New Mexico State or someplace, who took the job and then left. And then we got this guy from West Texas named Teef. Coach Teef is what they called him. And then they corrected it, no, it's Taft. And of course, nobody knew who he was. But as soon as he walked in the door, we knew this is the guy. This was the man. And he made an impact, of course, immediately on us as athletes. He made an impact on our first team. His first season, my first year was 1972. We were 5-6, had only won 3 games the 3 years before that. And then, of course, that next year, 73, we had a tough year, 2-9. And, of course, we won a championship in 1974, which is incredible. To turn around a program in 3 years is just unbelievable. And of course, his record is legendary. It's all history. But he was a great coach, but a far better man. And there are a whole lot of men like us, like Walter, like Doug, like guys all over America who would consider him as powerful a male influence in our life. He's the greatest influence in my life outside of my own dad. And he has impacted us. I've loved him. Of course, I had the honor of doing the ceremony of his youngest daughter, Lane, who got married here at First Baptist Waco. And as a minister, I got to do the wedding. One of the greatest moments of my life was standing down at the front of the church and have Lane Taft being walked by Coach Taft down, come and stand right in front of me. And of course, I have never stuttered as well as I stuttered in that moment. It was awesome. But he's a great man. He is.
That's great.
You say something about Coach Taft.
Jay, what about playing for Coach Taft?
Coach Taft was just good to his word, and that's what I asked him when I was transferring down. And your words mean something in life, and what you say needs to be what it is. And so, but a quick story, I won't bore you with all the details, but I had just thrown an interception to put us in a really bad spot against SMU, and I come to the sideline, and of course, I'm thinking this is not looking good, and it's 21-0, we're playing SMU, and I walk up to Coach Taft and say, Coach, you're going to take me out. And Coach Taft does what he always does. He would ask you a question. He'd say, what do you think I should do? I said, well, Coach, if you take me out, said, there's nothing I can do about it. You leave me in, we'll win this game. And then Coach Taft said, Jay, I believe that you believe that. And then he walked away. And then as he walked away, he turned around and said, Jay. He said, Jay. said, come here. He came here. He said, Jay, you're my quarterback, and we're going to win this game. That's a man that believes in you, and I love Grant Taft.
And you did win that game.
We did win that game.
Incredible second
That's
half,
right.
1980, and that's
right.
one of the best games I've ever
Yeah.
seen in my life. And you got a pretty good game.
Yeah.
But a great game.
Yeah.
But I had an experience like that as well because some of you, you wouldn't remember the TCU game of 1973 when
You know what? I think a lot of these
you
people
remember
do
that?
remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, of course, my infamous, I'm famous for that, throwing the ball out of bounds on fourth down to stop the clock, and so close to a great victory. And of course, I'm as devastated. And on that sunny afternoon, we had, of course, meetings, and I avoided Coach Taft because I didn't want to. And then on Monday, we show up for practice, and he walks up to me, and kind of like he did you, he said, Neal, you're my quarterback. And of course, he also told me the story about Simon Peter, who made a pretty big mistake with in denying the Christ in his major moment. And he said, Peter made a pretty good comeback. And he said, I'm expecting the same out of you, which is pretty good.
That's biblical. That's
yeah,
great.
yeah.
And of course, that wouldn't happen. You know, in those days, there weren't that many games on television.
Yeah.
But the Southern Baptist Radio and TV Commission was there doing a documentary, basically, on Baylor football, on Coach Taft. So every bit of that is documented. Coach Taft is wearing a microphone. Neal comes over. You're crying, coming over there. And, that didn't happen in anonymity. It was all recorded there.
Well,
and
what's
ended up on the
interesting
tape.
about that as well, because we knew they were there all that week filming the whole thing. Well, the next year, 1974, we're about to play Oklahoma State. And on our Friday afternoon meeting, Doug, you were there, Friday afternoon meeting, we're in a meeting room, and Coach Taft says, hey, I want you to watch something. And he's going to show us that film. And I'm thinking, oh, no. And of course, I'm hoping maybe they won't even mention the play at the end of the thing. Well, it comes down to the end of it. Of course, it shows me in slow motion, throwing the ball out of bounds, and it shows Coach Taft on the sideline going, Neal! And it shows me throwing the ball, and it's fourth down. But he showed us that, and after he showed it to us, we left in silence. And then I'm just kind of sitting there in my chair. I walk up to Coach and just ask him if I could watch that again. And I sat in that room all by myself and watched it and just cried like a baby. And but that has been shown by FCA groups all over America, and who knows how many lives have been touched as a result of that, of the impact of that film on Coach Taft and my moment of mistake with it. And of course, that's half the story. Because the other half of the story is the 74 season, what comes out of that the next year, which was glorious.
Yeah, from that in 73 to 74, winning the Southwest Conference Championship. Last one out of town, turn out the lights. You remember that. Jay, it was a little bit similar for you guys in 1979 leading into 80. I mean, you were a bowl team. You went to the Peach Bowl, beat a good Clemson team in the Peach Bowl that year. But also in August of 79 was when Kyle Woods was injured, I think a week or maybe 2 weeks before the season opener.
2 weeks before.
And you guys had to go through that whole
We
79
did,
season.
and I was actually ineligible that year. That was the year back in the day, they had changed the rules, but whenever you transferred to another D1 school, you had to sit out a year. So I sat out the 79 season. Mike Brandon and Mickey Elam were the two quarterbacks that year, and they had a great year. But when that happened, it brought a team together, and that really was, like talking about the trials of the 73, that experience with Kyle brought us not only together for the 79 season, but the 80 season, but also kept our team close together until Kyle died. I mean, buying him cars, house, all of those things were so critical, but it made us one, that's for sure.
And then I remember he was at Kyle Woods, I'm talking about, was at the Peach Bowl. And then 1980 season, you guys are rocking along. Mid-season non-conference game, lose to San Jose State on a fluke play, and then, so the next week after that, you got to pick yourselves back up against Arkansas.
Absolutely.
And Kyle factored into that game.
In fact, I just, we have a big international show in Louisville, Kentucky, and I just got through telling that story. And I don't talk about Kyle much because it's kind of an emotional thing, but it was. We lost to San Jose State, and we were clearly had a chance to play for the national championship. So next week, Arkansas, Lou Holtz, and Bert Jones's brother, I can't remember his first name, was their quarterback, and they were great. But before the game, Kyle comes in, and they wheel him in. Of course, we hadn't seen Kyle, and all of a sudden he comes in, and Daryl's with him, his brother, who was a linebacker on our team. And Kyle just tells us a story about his grandmother always told him, you have to take a setback and make it a comeback. And then Kyle stood up, and Daryl moved the wheelchair, and he took 3 steps. And we, of course, just was over. We went out, we beat Arkansas like it was brutal. It was 45-7. It was not that close. It was a massacre. But the interesting thing is, in life, that's what we do, is we need to take things one step at a time. Kyle Woods never took another step. Wow. Only steps he ever took.
Tell me that didn't have an impact on you guys that day. And really, like you said, for the rest of his life, you guys were really bonded by that experience with Kyle.
Absolutely. And one of the things it does that Coach Taft was very good at, but it also gives you perspective on this crazy football sport that we play that everybody's so crazy about. But there is a center, and there is something to go back to, and having somebody, a friend, be crippled changes your perspective, or die, or whatever the circumstances.
Well, you guys, I appreciate you as quarterbacks, Baylor legends. They are legends. I appreciate you guys even more as Christian men, strong Christian men, and I've gotten to know you through the years, and I've appreciated that. Jay and I were in school at the same time. Well, pretty much, I graduated in December of '80, but we were pretty much there at the same time. And then Neal, I knew the legend of Neal Jeffrey, but it's been great to get to know him and through the years. But that grounding, that Christian faith. You guys are so good about sharing your faith and sharing your witness in many, many opportunities. Neal?
Yeah, I was, of course, raised in a great Christian home, mom and dad that loved the Lord and raised us to love the Lord. And then getting here at Baylor, being exposed to all the things here at Baylor, and then having a coach like Coach Taft who believed and was proud of it, was going to stand up and say it and share it. And my life was really, I was a Christian, but getting here, God did some amazing things in my life through some men here, through some the churches in the area, and other Christian guys on my team, and just I really focused and realized, you know what, and football is a great sport, but football makes a lousy God. And I just settled on, I want to honor Jesus Christ with my life and acknowledge Him as Lord. And it's been 40-something years since that '74 championship team, and it doesn't do much in my life now. But my relationship with Jesus Christ is the sweetest thing I have, and it's like the old song we used to sing that when I was a kid. I thought it was a corny song, that every day with Jesus is sweeter than the day before. And I used to think that's corny. But you know what? The older I get, that is real. And that is precious. And I'm grateful for the experience I had at Baylor that in many ways defined me and shaped me, but also inspired me to live a life of faith and legacy.
Yeah, everybody believes in something. And if you decide that you're not going to live your life in a way where it doesn't matter what you do and you believe in nothing, you believe in something. You believe in nothing. And I've made a decision to believe in a Lord that died on the cross and nailed my sins, and I'll bear them no more. And that gives me hope for tomorrow, and that's for the next football play when things are going wrong in a football game, things are going wrong in your business and your life and your personal life, because there's hope for tomorrow, for today, because of our Lord and Savior. And so it gives me an opportunity to redeem people at my job, in my life, my children, every day. And so that's what makes the world go round. That's what we do, is let's redeem this world and redeem what we're doing. And that's about winning. So my dad, it was interesting about my dad. It was not hard to understand what was important to my dad. He loved the Lord, but he always said, Jay, remember one thing, win. We'd call, we'd pray, we'd talk before a game, but he'd say, remember, Jay, win. It was always about winning.
Well, something else about my dad, he so believed in Baylor University football. And every year before the season, he would sit down and pick every Baylor game. He did that my whole career, he did your whole career, and he would analyze every game and pick a winner. And at the end, and he always had Baylor 11-0 every year. He had but after my junior year, 1973, we were 2-9. And Dad, of course, the next year, he had Tommy Turnipseed, his dad, making some custom boots. So he got some green and gold boots. He bought a brand new white Thunderbird, named it Cotton. And he said, I'm going to wear these boots and drive this car next year to the Cotton Bowl. Wow. And we did, 1974. And we still have those boots. I still got those boots. They're the grossest things you've ever seen. They're this pale green and yellow, but there's a great story in that.
That is a great story.
Yeah.
All right, by my count, there have been, correct me if I'm wrong, Doug, and I'm sure you will, but there have been 6 quarterbacks in the history of Baylor University that have led Baylor to conference championships. Only 6. That's a short list. Here's 2 of them right up here today, all right? In 74 and in 1980. We hope it's 7 at the end of this season,
yes.
so things are going well so far. But for you guys, if you look at this offense, this Art Briles offense, this offense that's #1 in the nation, scoring and total offense, and the quarterback play, you know, the recent quarterback play with Rob to Nick Florence to Bryce Petty, and now to Seth Russell, and now handed off to the freshman, Jarrett Stidham. What do you guys think as former quarterbacks here when you look at that position now in this offense now? Jay?
Well, the quarterbacks are so talented, so strong arm, and Art has done such a great job coaching them. It's a fun offense to watch, man. It would have been fun to run something like that. But you know, it's amazing. They're so well coached, and it's just fun to watch. And I love Art. I mean, watching Art, you know, people around the country will say, what's he really like? What does the university think of him? Because there's other coaches around the country that are good football coaches, but at the university, they just tolerate him. I said, man, Art Briles is loved by everybody that deals with him. I said, he is a special guy. And that's fun to be able to say that about a great program like Baylor has. But, man, this offense is fun to watch.
Yeah, it's been amazing. Just to being lifetime Baylorites, you know, we've suffered for so many years. And we were in Kansas, and, of course, up there, nobody cared about Baylor. They laughed at us for being Baylor fans. And we weren't even being talked about. Of course, now we are the conversation. In football, and of course, in all of our sports, we're doing so well. And it's just so exciting to be a Baylor fan in these days and to whip people, I mean, consistently and dominate them in this offense. I mean, they throw the ball. So many, you know, Jay would have been incredible in this system because he could run. He had a great arm. And, you know, I feel like I kind of say this verbally out loud officially.
Okay.
Because we competed, I mean, we were against each other, and I being the oldest, I mean, but the fact is, Jay is the best quarterback in our family, and it took me 62 years to say that, but he really is. He's the better athlete than I am. That's true.
That's great. Look, we're recording all this. Okay, so Jay, we got it on tape now. Merry Christmas early.
That's right. That's good stuff.
That is great. So what do you guys think? You know, Seth Russell is just going along. God bless him, having a great season. One play late in the game. You know, he's trying to work hard to get the yardage for a first down. All of a sudden, you know, he's hurt. He's kind of stung. He comes out. Lo and behold, it's broken bones in his neck. What do you guys think, seeing and hearing about that?
Just unbelievable, because, you know, you only get so many chances to have a run where you got a chance to win the national championships. It was heartbreaking for Seth. But I will say this about Jarrett. The fact that he came last spring is a huge thing. And, you know, everybody wants to talk about, can he throw the ball? Is he strong? Is he smart enough? Is he a leader? And all that's nonsense, because he has all those things. He's proven that. What's so difficult is things happen in about 3 seconds. Yeah. And you got to make the right decision and being patient and not going for too much. And I think he's smart enough, and he's already shown that that's what he does. But that's really where it comes, and that experience. If we can get him 2 or 3 more games, it's scary what he can do.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I felt so bad for Seth, and I have prayed for him. And like Jay said, to be in a team like this, a season like this, with the potential of what could happen, and just boom, it's over for him, and he's not going to be a part of that. That's tough. And as an athlete, just to stand on the sideline is one of the hardest things to do as an athlete. But he's an incredible young man, and a young man of faith, and he knows, and of course we know that, hey, God's bigger than all that, and he's going to do something awesome in his life and through his life. But I just hate that he's not the guy and still isn't the guy. But, of course, if he can't be the guy, I'm glad we got a guy like Jared,
Yep.
who's behind him, who obviously can throw the football.
Talk about the team and the offense now. What about facilities? Can you guys compare and contrast?
Well, I tell you, that when the coach came, Rudy Feldman came, I believe he drove to the stadium and left, and didn't take the job. Coach Tapp always said he would not take recruits to the stadium. He would take them to the campus and do all kinds of things, but he would not take them. It was incredible. Even when I got there, which was 6 years later, our facilities were horrible. I came from Missouri University, where we had this incredible dining hall, these incredible dorms, it was unbelievable what we had. Came down here and we're eating bologna sandwiches because the food was so bad. And that's true. That's a true story. So it was interesting.
Yeah, I walked in, our weight room in 1971, when I got here, had 2 universal gyms and some free weights, and that was it. And it was, of course, I didn't know any better. I mean, it was fine to me, but just seeing what everyone else had and what we dealt with, which is just all the more, it's amazing what Coach Tapp was able to do and what he accomplished in those years. But the facilities now, I took a tour this last summer of all of our athletic, and it is incredible. Everything we have is as good as anybody has in the United States of America. And our coaching staff is just as quality all the way across, and just great people and great coaches, and of course people of faith as well, which is great.
We have people come, and with my company, come from all over the country, and they know the football is such a big deal. But so many times I've heard, well, Baylor just doesn't have the facilities. Craig James said that on TV one time, and I called him. I said, Craig, you need to come down here and see our facility. This was about 6 years ago, even now. But I'm telling you, when I bring people around the country and I drive them around Baylor, to the university itself, the athletic facilities and the stadium, it is unbelievable. We take customers to eat at the Baylor Club. Man, they love it. It's unbelievable. So it's fun.
Pretty good. Yeah, pretty good.
That leads this may be the last question, depending on your answer, but it may be the last question. So you guys have been through the lean years. You've seen the peaks, the peaks and the valleys, and now where Baylor is now. And it's not just Baylor football. It's Baylor University. It's Baylor athletics as a whole, our basketball programs, just as a whole, the athletic department. Neal, I know you've got kind of a Baylor group there at Prestonwood, pretty good Baylor group there, and I know you're around them. Those guys and women are always very supportive, but just out in the workplace, just places you go. Jay, the same thing. The image, I guess, of Baylor is just maybe at an all-time high. What do you think?
Yeah, it's off the chart. And what's so exciting about Baylor University is, of course, the quality of our students. Not just student athletes, which are wonderful, but all of our students. And all 3 of my kids went to Baylor. And of course, just seeing their friends and their friends' families, just incredible, talented young people who are making a difference now all over the world. And it's just exciting what's happening at Baylor University. And, you just see people all over the place wearing our gear. I mean, wearing Baylor stuff, and it's just incredible, just a whole new day. And, of course, to whom much is given, much is expected. And, of course, we have a wonderful opportunity, I think, as a Christian university to make a difference. Yes, you can succeed in everything, academics, sports, in every area, but also you can make a difference in this world for God through faith in Jesus Christ. And I'm just so proud of what's happening at Baylor University.
I can't add to that. Baylor's, it's a great place, and it's so proud wherever I go around the world, the people know of Baylor, and that's a great thing.
And it really is worldwide, isn't it?
It absolutely
Out of the United
is.
States.
Absolutely is.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
When I was a kid, Baylor, of course, was off in football back then. But we had a great debate team. And we won a bunch of national championships back in the 60s in debate. So I got a sign that said, Baylor University national champions. And of course it said a debate down the bottom, but I kept that out and had that on all of my school books and all my notebooks. National champions, Baylor University. Of course, it was debate, but anyway, but we're there now.
Yeah, we're there now. Thanks to our regents also. Regents are a big part of our success. Am I right?
Exactly.
All right.
And Neal is a regent.
Yeah.
That's it. Well, you guys are great. We love you. We appreciate you. We thank you for everything you've done through the years and continue to do, representing Baylor in such a great first-class Christian manner. So do you guys, everybody agree? You appreciate these two legends, Jay and Neal Jeffrey, today.
Thank you.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.